Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this year's DynamicsCon Spring Edition. My name is Foyin Olajide-Bello. I work as a senior consultant at Avanade, and I have my co-presenter here, Olajumoke Toriola, who is the CTO at Hashem. Before we start, I want to say a big thank you to DynamicsCon for organizing this fantastic event. It's been amazing over the years and it continues to be a fantastic one. Thank you to all our sponsors, our organizers for putting this together, and let's get started. So today we're going to talk about building intelligence and interactive Power Virtual Agent bots for SharePoint. We're going to look at what is bots, why do we need it, and why does it need to come into SharePoint, right? So before we get started, I would like to introduce my co-speaker first, Olajumoke. We fondly call her MG. She's the CTO of Hashem Limited, also a digital transformation enthusiast, right? She loves Microsoft 365, Exchange, and of course, the Power Virtual Agent is her very own baby, which is why we are here today talking about it. She's the co-founder of Textilers and also a user group lead in Nigeria for the Microsoft 365 user group. She loves music and cooking, and you can follow her on LinkedIn and on Twitter. Best part is she's a Microsoft MVP in Office applications. So that's my co-presenter, MJ. Thank you so much. And myself, Foyin Olajide-Bello, like I mentioned earlier, Microsoft MVP in Biz Apps. I am a senior consultant at Avanade, Microsoft certified Power Platform architect, and of course, I love all things Power Platform, which is why I'm here today. I love to sing and dance in my spare time when I'm not doing community work. I also enjoy traveling a lot when I get a chance to. I'm the founder of Textilers and also a user group lead of the Power Platform user group in Nigeria. And I'm an honorable member of the Microsoft DynamicsCon advisory team. And I'm very proud that I'm one. And you can follow me on Twitter, reach out if you want to talk more about the Power Platform. If you have questions, I'm always happy to connect and to make new friends. So those are my handles and also my LinkedIn profile. All right, that said, what do we want to talk about today? First of all, we'll start with looking at an overview of Power Virtual Agent, right? What is Power Virtual Agent? What can it do for us? We'll talk a bit about the SharePoint Framework, which is the model that we're going to use to bring our bots into our SharePoint sites. Why did the SharePoint Framework come up? Why is it important? And we'll also look at how do you publish your Power Virtual Agent bots to SharePoint. And then I'll walk you through the prerequisites of publishing your bots. What do you need? What do you need to install? What do you need to do? And also, MJ would share relevant links to each of these prerequisites, how you can get them, and also walk you through an actual demo. So stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Remember, we have the live Q&A coming up after this session. So please drop all of your questions in the chat window and we'll be happy to answer them at the end of our session. Okay, so what is a Power Virtual Agent? Basically, it helps us to create sophisticated AI-powered chatbots, that help us resolve our day-to-day questions and answers, whether your internal stakeholders or your external stakeholders can make use of the bot to get their answers to their questions very quickly. And the best part of it is all of this can be managed without writing a single line of code. So you can create your bot, you can manage your bot, all from this user-friendly interface that you see right here on my right. And once your bot is up and running, you can test it, see how it works. If you feel it's not answering the questions properly, update it and test it again real time, all in the same interface. I think that's very fantastic. So I don't know how to code, that's fine. Power Virtual Agent is for you. I'm a subject matter expert and I like to create a bot for my stakeholders and my customers. That's fine. The Power Virtual Agent is for you. And then the bot can also be published on Microsoft Teams, on Facebook, a website, custom mobile applications, and that is how you can publish it out of the box and so many other platforms, but not SharePoint, which is why we have this session for today. So what is the SharePoint framework, right? The SharePoint framework is, a page and a web part model that provides full support for client-side SharePoint development. It helps with easy integration with SharePoint data and also extending to Teams and other Office 365 loads. So SharePoint Framework came up in 2016 and has been one of our best friends since then. Why is it important? Previously, SharePoint had a lot of restrictions around iframes, around API connections, around extending to other Office 365 workloads. So, which was one of the reasons why the SharePoint framework was developed to help deliver capabilities to developers, to engineers, helping them to do more, to build this beautiful, powerful, rich applications that are intuitive and simple and that can be consumed by literally any browser. It's responsive, it looks good, and that's really the benefit of the SharePoint framework. So, just in case you're curious, that's why we have the SharePoint framework. Okay, so I mentioned so many platforms where you can publish your bots to. So you're wondering, why would I need to publish my Power Virtual Agents to SharePoint? One of the reasons you may consider doing this, which is one of the major reasons, is if your users are on the intranet, right? So you have all of your users using SharePoint as a company intranet, or you have a particular page, which is a SharePoint page that all of your users make use of. Why do you want to push them to another application? Because they need to access the bot, right? You want the bot to meet them where they are, which is why you may consider publishing your bot to SharePoint. It's important to mention that if your users are on a particular page in your SharePoint site, then all you need to do is use an SPFX web part to publish your bot. But if you want your bot to sit on every single page of your SharePoint site, then you have to use the SPFX extension. So, which is what MJ is going to show us in a bit. She's going to show us how to use the SPFX extension to publish your bot across every single page. All right, stay with us. Remember, Q&A, live Q&A is coming up, so please drop all of your questions in the Q&A chat box and we'll be happy to answer them. Right, so for this demo, assuming you wanted to run the exact same demo at home on your laptop, you would need a Power Virtual Agent license, right? But the trial license is also sufficient since it's a demo and you just want to test things out. MJ will show links to all of this in her session, right? So SharePoint site, you need to already have a SharePoint site which you want to publish your bot to. The Power Virtual Agents license, trial or full license, your bot needs to be created anyway for us to publish it on the SharePoint site. Then you also need to install the Node.js and also set up your SPFX development environment. Now, this last step has a lot of other steps. That's why we've gotten this here. Right, so like we said, you need to install the Node.js. You also need to have your code editor, whichever one works for you. Visual Studio Code, Atom, WebStorm, you can use any of them. You also need to have Gulp and Yeoman. So you have all of this on your laptop, then you're ready to get your bots running on your SharePoint site. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to MJ to walk us through the fantastic demo that shows you step by step how to publish your bot to a SharePoint site. Over to you, MJ.
Thank you so much, Foyin. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. So I'm just going to move right into the demo. Just allow me to quickly share my screen. Let me just lay a little bit of context to the reason for this demo. Now, what the SharePoint framework extension allows you to do is that it's going to it's going to allow us be able to deploy our Power Virtual Agent bots into multiple pages in a single SharePoint site. Now, as against you being able to publish that bot to just one page of that SharePoint site, what the framework extension allows us to do here, now that we want to demo, is for us to be able to publish that to as many SharePoint sites as possible. Now, if you see me move sideways, please bear with me. It's because I'm using two screens, but I'll try as much as possible to keep an eye contact with you. Now let's look at the prerequisites. The prerequisite, one of the very first prerequisites is that you must have a Power Virtual Agent license. Now does this does not mean it has to be a paid license, but you can get a free trial license if you want to just run a lab environment. And with that, you can use this link on the screen for you to get that. Now, you also need a SharePoint site. Also, the same thing, your SharePoint site, but that doesn't matter if you don't have an Office 365 paid license, or but you can sign up for the M365 developers program, and this is the link for you to do that. Again, you need a basic knowledge of React. React is a programming language, but then if you do not have this, you just need just a basic knowledge. One is not asking, you do not require an extensive knowledge of programming to be able to do this. I'm not a programmer. I do not code. I don't even know one line of code, but at least, I've started learning my Python language, and I hope very soon I'll be able to do a little bit. But then that doesn't mean that, don't put your, there's a lot of pressure for you to learn the programming language. You just need a basic, and then that's all of React language. Now you need the Node.js version 14.x whatever. Now this is where you have to pay attention, because the latest version is what you will find on the site. Now, if you go to the site and you just download the latest version, your SharePoint framework is going to have a problem with that. So make sure that the SharePoint framework, the current version, that is the version 1.14.1, is only supported on this version of Node.js. So be very, very careful. And then when you're downloading, then you can follow this official setup guide for you to be able to know how you will set up your SharePoint framework for your development environment, which is very key. So I'm just going to put up on the page the browser so that you can see. You can see that my Power Virtual Agent, this is the trial. This is how you sign up for the trial. You just click on Start Free Trial, and then it will complete the rest of the wizard for you. Now, this is what the M365 Developers Program is. Now, another thing I need to lay emphasis on is that with the M365 Developers Program, you can actually have access to the Power Platform components. So if you sign up for this, you may not even need to sign up for a Power Virtual Agent component separately, but you just need to ask for a trial still for you to start to use the bot, so you can have this. Now, for the Node.js, when you come into the site, this is what you're going to see as you sign into the Node.js site. Now, I was tempted the first time to install the 17.0 with the idea that, okay, it is the latest version and it's going to have more functionality and it's going to work for me. But my SharePoint framework did not work with it at all. So what do you do here? You need to go to About and then go to Releases. And from Releases, you just scroll down and then you will see version 14. Now, I clicked on version 14 because the version of my operating system is on the 64 bits, so I just downloaded the .msi. So this is what you needed to download and install. Now, once you've done this, how do you go about installing it? If the most important thing is that just follow that same guide that I talk about, where you'll be able to do what? Set up your SharePoint framework development environment. And then you will see that one of the things you need to set up is what? Your Node.js. And with the Node.js, once it is installed, in my own case, it has been installed, and then it has been installed, so I do not need to set it up. But then you have to complete some set of installation. So I'm just going to do that real fast now. I'm going to bring up my SharePoint. I'm going to bring up my PowerShell. Now, with my PowerShell, I'm just going to run Node just to be able to check the version and be sure. So you can see that my version is still 14.90. That is, 14.190 I meant. So this is the version of my Node.js. And then so I'm going to follow. The next thing I want to do now is for me to do was to complete the installation of setting up my SharePoint Framework environment, my developers environment. And to do that, I want to do what I will need to install gulp. Now, what is gulp? Gulp is a JavaScript based task runner, and it's actually used to what automate repetitive tests. Now, what this allow me to do at the end of the day is to be able to package my the deployed solution that I'm going to build at the end of the day. So for me to set up gulp, I'm going to run this command npm install gulps CLI global, and that is what I'm going to run, and that is just going to run for a while now. And then this shouldn't take long because I've ran this before, and then it shouldn't take long. Now the next thing I'm going to install is my Yoma. The Yoma actually helps you to do what, to kickstart a new project. And then in terms of what the SharePoint client side development to use is that it requires what is called a Yoma generator for creating what the web part. This is very important for me to run it before I can install the Yuma SharePoint generator. If this is not installed and I decide to, I make an attempt to run the next command, it's going to throw an error. So once this goes through now, which I hopefully is not going to take a long time, because um, I've done this before, just to give you an idea of the commands. Actually, there is a single line of command that is meant to run the three of these commands that I'm running right now. But I will advise you to run it one after the other, because when I attempted to run that single command, the three times that I've done it in the lab, I did have some issues, and it was difficult for me to start locating or seeing where it all went wrong. So, but then I prefer to run them one after the other. Then so you install the Yeoman SharePoint generator, and what that is going to do for you is actually it will help us create what is called a SharePoint client side solution project. Now, the SharePoint side solution project is actually what at the end of the day is going to help us do more of rather the package, and we're going to install it. So um that's what this command will do. Now again, don't freak out if you see some like this what I'm having here right now, found some potential issue. Don't freak out. It's not really anything to be scared of. Let me see, let me just increase my font so that you guys can see what I'm doing very well. Yeah, so it can be so. Free card is just one of those things, you get it, but that doesn't mean that what you're running is not gonna work. You get, so this is fine. So while this is running, let me just jump right into my Power Virtual Agent page. Now I've already set up my trial. So the first thing I want to do after I've set up my trial. I've created a bot before now, but not to worry, I'll just create a new one for the purpose of this demo. So I'm gonna go into this bot panel over here and then click on new bots. And then this time around, I want to give the bot the name of DynamicsCon. So I'm just gonna call it DYCom bots. All right, so let me do this. Let me make this capital actually. Okay. All right, so let's do this, and then I give the English, I give it a language of English, and I click on create. Now, this is just gonna help me create the bots, create the binaries, all of the things that needs to make it, it would fit it in, and all of that. So, which is very important. So I'm just gonna create my bots and then continue. Once this setup is done, it's important that we get the bot ID and save it in a location. You save it probably in a notepad because you're going to use it later on. So I'm just going to refresh to be sure that my bot has finished creating, which is good. So you come down to what, manage, and then you come to channels where you have to do what, to be able to these are channels where you can publish your bots to. So, but before I'll come back here. So let me quickly just talk about a little bit of what you have in the bots. You have the home where you have information, things you can quickly get started up with your bot. Topics are the things that frame your questions that you're going to ask, or the likely questions that your bot is going to be asking your or that's going to be asking your users. These are some of the topics. So you have system topics, and you can actually create topics also. So then I'm suggested topics and topics you can actually pick from. You can actually pick from a website. So let us even put suggested topics from DynamicsCon. Let's go to DynamicsCon .com and see the topics you can pick from there. I hope, okay, I hope I spelled that well. Let me copy, let me just do the copy instead, and then go to the topic and the suggested topic. So let's see if we can pick topics here and just add, and then we start. So it's going to query and then give us topic suggestion from there. Okay, cool. Now, while this is going on, like I said, you can come in into the channels and then you look for your bot ID. Now, your bot ID is actually this numbers. That is what your bot ID is. But and it's always after the bot, so that's how you know it. But then, um, for you to get it, you can come to the custom website and then you look at it. However, when you come to the custom website, you may not be able to see where the hyphens or dashes are. So what I can advise is that you can use the one in Telegram, and then you can see that it has the right dashes, or I mean the right hyphen where they're supposed to. So you can copy this and put it where in a notepad. So let's see, just put it in a notepad in a safe location. You'll come back to use it later on. All right, great. So let's see if our bot has given us some, if we've generated it. Yes, okay. So we have like 3 topics from the DynamicsCon that it has pulled out. So let's look at those topics. Sorry. So let's look at those suggested topics. Here they are. They have 3 topics about. So let's just open one of them. So this says that if there's a trigger phrase that say, why should I participate or participate, then the message the bot is going to give to the person asking is, yes, why participate? You have free online conference for user and all of that. So we see this looks great. And then let's see adding those bots, those topics to our bots. I'm just going to add all of them. Now, okay. All right, so let me see. Let's see adding them one again. They just load very fast. So, okay. I guess that was the reason, because one has been added before. So the remaining to the suggested topic, let me just add it to the topics. So to go into the topics, and then yes, that's cool. So we'll add them now in the topics. This is right. This fine. These are our 3 new topics. So let's turn them on. Let's turn them on. Let's turn them on. And then what is very important that is that at every time when you have your board created, you should always make sure that when you have your bot created and you work on your topics, they are always saved. It's very important. So what I'm going to do right now is go and do what? Publish this bot, because if you do not publish it ahead of time, the tendency that you forget in publishing it, you might have, by the time you go to the SharePoint site, you might be getting some errors. So I normally tell people publish this ahead of time. So this is all you need to do on the Power Virtual Agent side. So we've completed all our tasks here for now. Now, moving on, let's do something real fast. So the next thing we need to do is that so we've completed the second step. The third step now is for you to define a work a work environment or a workbench or whatever name you want to call it for your projects. So I normally like to go and create a folder where I want everything around my project to be saved. So I call this folder, probably I'll just give it the same name of Dynamics or Decombots, just everything. So all my solution at the end of the day will be saved here. This is just as the same thing that is going to house my project. So I'm going to change my directory now from my, I'm going to change this directory to this new environment, to this new location, I mean. So you can see that it has changed to the new location. So what do I want to do? The first thing is that the next step I want to do now is for me to do what? To create my SharePoint Framework extension. And how do you need to do? So the reason for this is that is what is going to host our PVA bots on SharePoint. So the SharePoint extension will allow you to deploy, like I said before, the bots to all pages in a single site. So I want to connect to it, and the way I want to connect to it is that I'm using what my Yoma. So let me call my Yoma command again, and then it's going to try to connect. Now, so if you look at it, it picked the name straight off because I mean somehow it's welcome to SharePoint Online SPF. And so, and what is your solution name? This is my solution. This is what I want to use. If you have a different name, you can use. You're at liberty to use a different name. So this is what I'm just going to click enter. So then which type of client-side component do you want to create? So the type is what is an extension. It is very important. Is an extension. Remember, because it's the SharePoint framework that we're trying to do. We want to create what an extension. So that's what you're going to create. And then is which type of client-side extension to create? We're going to use what an application customizer. So you select enter again. Just use your arrow if it's not already selected as application customizer. You can see that it's highlighted. Make sure you select that and press enter. Now, what is the name of your application customizer? In my own case, I'm just going to call it dynamic decom bot. That's what I'm calling it. And I'm going to enter. And then it's going to try to create it. So while this is running, we can just continue to, let's just continue with the other tab. We're just gonna, no, actually, we're gonna wait for this to finish running and then before we continue. So if you look at the folder that I've created, you should have some things. You can see that that folder I created, all of this process or action run is actually creating the binaries or the rights content that is going to, I mean, the components that I need to be able to create my project or my solution for the bots to be published to the SharePoint site, which is what all of this is going on. So we're just going to wait for this to come true. And then once that is done, I mean, the next step for me is for me to do what? To modify the SPFX extension to host my PVA, I mean my Power Virtual Agent bots. So that's what I'm gonna do now. While this is running, I just want to make sure that we all are following and ensure that if you have any question, please do not hesitate to drop it in the chat window for us in the question pane. We're going to answer, we're going to treat all of your questions at the end of the session. So just drop all of your questions for us and we're going to treat it. I mean, so another thing is that as we're going to be sharing some of this content. A lot of this content is actually saved in the Git of some of the articles I followed. So you can actually find those contents, which we're going to be sharing the URL at the end of the session. So just pen down all of your questions, put them in the chat window. Foyin will definitely be attending to it, or and then before I'm through, and then we'll treat all of them at the end of the session. So I'm just gonna wait for this to go through and then finish up. So it's gonna take a little bit of while. All right, great. So yes, my solution is deployed. Now, the next thing I want to do is to modify the SPF extension to host the bot actually, and then I'm going to be installing the bot framework web chart. So, sorry, just 1 minute. Let me quickly run that. Um, web chat. So that's the next command that I need to run. And once this is done, I'm actually going to create a .txs file for us to be able to modify, and then you will see where we're going to be using the bot ID I copied earlier. So let's just wait for this to run real first. And remember, like I said, any question that you have, just keep it pinned down, and we will attend to it at the end of the whole session. Great. So do not forget, it's actually very, very important that when you're building, this keeps your work organized, your solution organized. You can actually have as many bots that you've created through this method, probably because you have different SharePoint site for different things and you want to create a bot for it. The cool thing is that even then, all you just need is to create your your workspace. I mean, create a folder for each so that you will be able to keep it. So imagine that I allow all of these to go to my default, so it's the default folder that it picks. If I'm to create another bot, it's going to go there. So my work at the end of the day will become messy. I may not even be able to find what I need. So I normally advise that you just create a folder for you to be able to save your work separately, and then you can keep your work organized that way. So this is great. So as you can see, this is still working. All right, great. So finally, we're done. Now, once this is done, what I need you to do is that you open a notepad. Is actually very important. So I'm just going to open a notepad here. Going to open another notepad. And then this is the place that you were requested to know how to do what? To write, know how to do a little bit of React, that you should know a little bit of React. So, and I know a lot of us, when we heard React, a lot of things came to mind. Are they going to ask me to learn how to code? No, nobody's going to ask you. But do something you have to learn words, just because of this React script that I'm going to run, that I'm going to input now is a lot. So, but then what is important is this. Let me save this as a word. So I'm going to save it as. So where am I saving it? I'm going to go back to my documents. And in that document, I'm going to look for my SRC. And then the extension, I'm going to open my stuff. And then this is the solution, and then I'm going to call this a chat bot, and then save it as a .txl. So I'm going to be txl. That's I'm going to save it. Need to save it. Now I normally like to work with my PowerShell. I is actually very the integrated scripting extension, because it allows me most times to be able to do my work neatly. I mean, to be able to see what I'm running. So what I'm going to do is this. Just let me close this, and then I'll go to file and try to open the location where this is already. So just going to go back to my documents, the same file I just saved now. And then I'm going to go to where my bot ID is, which is bot ID. So I'm going to fix that same bot ID that I asked us to copy out the last time. You remember? I asked us to copy out the bot ID and get it ready. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to replace it with the value I have here. So it's normally on line 25. So just make sure you replace it, and that's all. So you can save this. Okay. So let me close back my notepad. All right. So the next thing I need to do now is to also do what? Go to my application customizer. It's also in the same folder. You can go back to that same SCR extension and go to this application customizer. I'm going to open it and replace it with another line of code. And that is the reason for, that's the reason for knowing React. So you're just going to copy this and replace it with this. Let's get that out real fast. All right, okay. So this is very interesting, and then that will be all. And then, so I'm just gonna save this. Okay. All right. Now, with that done, the next thing I'm going to do is to. So the next thing I'm gonna do is to go to go to my config file, which is still here. So let me just tell you the reason why, what the last task that I did just editing the application customizer is actually to create a bottom placeholder across all of the pages. So that task that I just did on the application customizer that I just did on this application customizer, it will allow me to create what is called a bottom placeholder across all of the pages in the SharePoint. So that React command that I just put in here, that is what it's going to achieve. Then I'm going now to where my config file is, and then with my config file, I'm going to edit this JSON, save.json file. I'll open it with this again. Now, what is important here is just for me to be able to replace this page URL with the page URL with the URL of the page in my SharePoint site that I want to. So I have a SharePoint site I want to use, and funny enough, I created one for DynamicsCon 20. So I call it like a volunteer site where people can volunteer, though I use a template here. So I'm just going to copy this site and then coming into this and then replace it. So that's the parent site because I want it to be on all of the pages. Now, if you look at this, what the example here, this person is putting it in just a page, but I'm putting it in the root of, the parent, that the site itself, so that it can appear all over the page. I'm just going to save this. Okay. And once this is done, my next command is I can get to test it. So let's test it. Let's test it with a gop serve. I mean the command to test it. I'm just gonna say I want to test it locally again. Let's see what that will give me. And then you will see that once this command is run, it's going to try to create a page of these same site out into another tab, and then just put, yes, that's what I mean. So you're gonna get this error, but because of, just say don't allow debug, sorry, because I don't need it. And then let's head back to our command and see what it's giving us. So you can, this can take a while for it to come true. But what I normally do is this: instead of waiting, because this is just for text only, I can decide to just go create my, deploy to SharePoint straight. So what the command I need to deploy to SharePoint, I'll just open another PowerShell, and once I open it, I do what? I change directory again to this same place, because this is where I want to um and I'm going to run this command to create my solution. So if I don't need it, I'll just go on. So I'll just use my this for this to create my solution. I don't to deploy it, sorry, to deploy it to SharePoint side. I don't want to wait for the test to complete, because sometimes it takes a while. So I'll just rather deploy to SharePoint. That's the next stage. I can actually cancel this task because it's actually just for me to test my deployments. Because of time, I'll just cancel it so that let me let me deploy straight to SharePoint. I'm going to cancel the gop serve. That's what I'm canceling, not the deployment task. So if we don't miss it up, not the deployment task, because the deployment task is still running. You can see the deployment task is the one that says bundle ship is the one that is doing that one. So that's not what I'm trying to. This one, I've stopped it. So let's, okay. All right, cool. So my deploy to SharePoint is, this is what I'm trying to do. So my project is completed, it's fine, it's finished, there is no error. So I have this last one to do, or to package my solution. So because I want to ship it, so it's going to package the solution into an .spkg file. So that's done. So you can see it said it give me that everything is done. So where I need to go now, I'm going to go to that DCOM and then go to my SharePoint and then go and look at the solution folder, and I can see my package. Now this package is what I'm going to deploy to my SharePoint site. So how do I go about that? Let me head back to my SharePoint. So you have your SharePoint admin site. If you have this, if you're a global admin, the administrator, you should be able to see this. And then there is what is called the apps catalog, the site for the apps catalog. If you do not have this apps catalog, then you might need to create it. So I'm just going to open my own, because this is my apps catalog. And then I'm going to say apps for SharePoint. Now we have to upload that .sp and that .spkg file. So I'm going to choose, and I'm going to do what? Browse to the location. This is where it is. So I'm just going to select it and then click open, and then I'll check this and then do this. So once this is uploaded, it's going to ask to be deployed. So I'm going to deploy this. And once this is deployed, you'll see that it is fine. Everything is working. Everything is fine. Then I can head back now to my SharePoint Let's go back to the site I want it to be deployed to. This is the site. So remember, this is the same site we put in our in that same serve.json file. This is the same URL we put. So I'm going to add my app now that I've deployed, and then I can see it here. So all I need to do is so this is it already, and then I click on add. Now, once I add this to the site, let me head back to it. If I look below, I'm going to have it on the side. So let me see. Let's just see, let it be, let it reload. So you can see it here. This is it. Then I can open to test now. It has to give me connect. If it's not connected, then that means I have an issue. So let's see. Let's just click on I. So you can see that my bot is responding. Said I'm a virtual agent. So let's test those suggested topics. Why participate? Let's see what is going to return to us. So do you say why participate? Yes, it gave me free online and all of that. Did that answer my questions? Once I say yes, and then you ask me for these, and then I can say yes. Thank you for your feedback. Can I help you for anything else? No, I'm great. So this is what it is. But then this is the first page. So let's move to another page. Let me see if I go to the about page. Do I still have my bot following me? For sure. Can I go to the agenda that page? Let me see if my bot is still following me. Let's see it run. Okay. So no, this I'm just the one that put this. Okay. Agenda page is not part of. So let me go back. I just put it's not a SharePoint site. I mean, okay, so let me go to my training page and let's see. So what in essence what I'm trying to show is that the bot goes through all of the pages in your site. So opening it again, you'll see this is it. Let me start chatting again. So what this does is that it allows your user to be able to chat from within any of the page that they are in. And then let's see again. Let's see. Give me what is it about? What is this conference about? And then let's see what it's going to say. It's going to tell us everything about the conference. Then I want to ask, is it free? Let's see whether there's any question. Yes, it said our sponsors are committed to making this event available for your entire team. Did that answer your question? And I'm going to say yes. And then yes, can you rate your experience? I'm going to give myself 5 because I've done a fantastic job. Thank you for your feedback. And with anything, no, this is great. So this is in a nutshell what we've been able to do. And then remember, this is just for the purpose of this, but you can actually continue to customize, even put a flow into it, integrate it with Power Automate, that it from even the SharePoint side, it can link to Microsoft Teams and all of that. So thank you so much for everything, for taking our time, for still remaining with us and being patient for me to run through all of this. I hope this has been very informative and it has been very useful for you. So I'm just going to be handing over now to Foyin. So Foyin, over to you. I guess there'll be some questions that the audience are already posting into the chat window. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, MD, for that fantastic demo. Very simple, very straightforward, very clear instructions with helpful hyperlinks. So I believe that with this demo that we have shown, you should be able to set up your own Power Virtual Agent bot and publish it to your SharePoint site successfully. All right, we have the live Q&A coming up. We'll be back to you shortly for the live Q&A. Thank you so much, DynamicsCon, once again for organizing this amazing session. Thank you to my co-speaker, MJ, for the wonderful demo. And thank you to every one of you for joining our session. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. We're super excited. It's St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's. You can see me repping Ireland with my green and yellow hat on. Was a super session. My co-speaker can't be with us today for reasons beyond her control. But however, I'm here and I'm happy to take your questions. I have looked through the chat window and I can see that currently don't have any questions. So that's fantastic. Means it was a great session. So, like we said, the Power Virtual Agent, publishing it to the SharePoint site, you may have situations where your users are more available on the intranet, and you don't want to take them outside of the current place where they are used to accessing all of their stuff. You want them to still have the ability to access things in the intranet and also chat with the bot and get responses real time. So that's when you would need to go through this process. Other than that, we have the standard platforms that are available to publish your Power Virtual agents on, which you can, of course, you make use of. Again, if you would need to publish your Power Virtual agent just to one single page on your SharePoint intranet, then you can use a web part to do that. But you need to go through the process that MJ has just shown us if you need to publish your Power Virtual agents to all of the pages on your site. So as you saw her, as she went through the different pages, the bot was still available at the lower part of the page for the users to answer whatever questions that they have. So we have, thank you so much for joining us from Canada, from Toronto, from Nigeria. We have the breakout rooms. So you can look for the Power Platform breakout room, and I'll be transiting there now to take any more questions you have. Again, happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you.